This time in Yerushalmi Shekalim, the article is an additional daf Chaf Hey Amud Aleph, right, beginning a new parak, right, top of the page, and that in the Vilna Yerushalmi is almost at the bottom of Yudal on the base, and in the Vilna Bavli Yerushalmi is on daf Tes on the base. All beginning a new parak, easy to find. Okay, Truma Mayu saying, but what do we do? Truma Salishka. Osin looking but Tamidim Musafim and Iskeim. We require with it the Tamidim, the Musafim, and the Nesachim. All these are Korban Tzibur, of course. Homer, the Korban Homer, Shtei Lechem, and the Shtei Lechem, which were brought on Shavuos, and Lechem Aparim, which were brought on a weekly basis. The Kol Korban Tzibur, and all Korban Tzibur were all brought from the Trumas Lishka, and the Korban says La Suye Ketores. It comes to include Ketores, which is also brought from the Trumas Lishka. Shomei Svichim B'Shvis. The Korban explains Tvua Ola Meileh, the Masha Nid Nosha B'Kotzir, the grain which comes up on its own from that which fell to the ground when you harvested the previous year. The Nostim Schayla Shomrim, and they give a payment to people to preserve it. Shimnu Reglei Behem Misham, that to prevent people from going there and taking this grain. And this, of course, is Shemitah, when you can't grow the grain, so you need to take what's growing on its own, but they have to prevent people from taking it, because otherwise it's Hefker Lakol, right? So therefore, you want to prevent people from taking it. Which can only come from the new grain and from Eretz Yisrael. You pay the Shomrei Svichim from the Trumas Alishka. The Tzara carbon because it's in need of the carbon, therefore can come from the carbon. He says that if somebody wants to watch them for free and acquire them from the Hefker, so he can be manadev them, and then they can use in the base on Mikdash for the carbon of Tzibur. Amalei said, no. Even you could see that they have to come from the Tzibur, and if he is a Shomer Chinam, which means he's Zoichen them, right? So they went from the Shemitah, from the Hefker of Shemitah, so it's not coming from the Shel Tzibur. And the Karmeda explains that she Tasam Shivu. They responded according to their Shita. Rabbi Yossi doesn't have to agree with them, but they hold that the Sari Karban Yachid in Mishtana L'Shel Tzibur, a Karban Yachid cannot become a Karban Tzibur. So once it became the property of a Yachid, because he was Shomer Chinam and he was Zeich Men Hefker, they can't give it over to giving it over to Tzibur is not going to do any good. Okay, says Gemara, Hachuma Ma Yuasimba. Manos Manatzeh Koni Ba'am Limanos. Now this is obviously not talking about our Mishnah, because our Mishnah doesn't say anything about Manatzeh Koni Ba'am. So it says Karmeida, Maru Amaslis and Perk Dal the Tainis Kai. It's going to mention the fourth Perk of Tainis. The Tanah Osam there's Manatzeh Koni Ba'am, Tisha. There are 9 times when they brought wood to the base of Mikdash as a Nadava. The Kashlu, the difficulty is Maru Limonos. Why these specific 9 times, these specific groups of people? I feel koyacha v'yachid. Yachol and not him. Any individual can bring wood to the base of Mikdash. Can it not come on, like we're going to see later on, Parak Vav. So why count those specific 9 families? So Maros Manai Tzekoi Bam Limos. So B'Shashal Yisrael Me'akola. Namisel came up from the Golos. The Loma Tzuletzim Lishka. They didn't find any wood. There's no wood in Lishka to bring the Karbanos. Va'amdu, and they stood up. Va'amdu Elu, and these families stood up. They volunteered. And it's not for Eitzim Mishlatzma, and they volunteered wood of their own accord. Umasorim Tzibur, and they gave over to the Tzibur. The Karban Tzibur, and they brought up the Karban Tzibur based on this wood. V'Nuim and Neviim Shebeneim, so the Neviim who were among them at the time of Shivas Tzion made a stipulation. Shafil Lishkam Le Eitzim, even if the chamber which contains the firewood for the basement is full of wood. From to Elim is not to Eitzim Mishlatzma, and these families come and they volunteer wood on their own. The carbon should only come from theirs first. In other words, that they have the right to, they have dibs, so to speak, on their wood at these 9 times a year. Some Rabbi Achar said Rabbi Yossi, this must be Rabbi Yossi of our Mishnah, right? Rabbi Yosef Amar, Afa Rotzim Misnadev Shem Mechina. Even private individuals can bring the wood to the Beis Hamikdash. It doesn't have to be bought from the Kaspei Tzibur, from the funds of the community, and yet nevertheless it's considered to be valid for Karban Tzibur. Right? It must be going like our Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi said, no, Divra Koli. Everybody can agree about this. Mapi and Gufa Shel Karban. Because what's Machlokes? It's only about the Gufa Shel Karban, the Karban itself. Whether it can come as via a Yochi to the Tzibur, has to come directly by the purchase of the Tzibur. Ava Machshire Karban, but anything which is a Hechsher Karban, which is preparatory or the auxiliary, maybe is a better good word, for the Karban, that is the Karban Moidi, Shu Mishtane, Karban Yochel, Karban Tzibur. That an individual can volunteer them, and it can be then become a Karban Tzibur. It's not a problem. Okay, so let's talk about this further. Tani Ishish Osas Kutones Levana, a woman who made a white garment for the Kohen to serve in the Beis Hamikdash. Tzricha limsala tzibur. She's got to go over to the tzibur. It says Garmeneda, miu masara mutar la'avod ba. But if she did do masira properly, she was very. She gave her full cognizance to the tzibur. So then it is valid for use. So Rabbi Achra said this must be Rabbi Yossi. This must be Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi ma'afa now it's not if maybe somebody wants to volunteer as an individual can volunteer to be the Shem Mechina Mishnah, and in this case this woman can volunteer the garment she made to the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbi Yossi Shemila said no divrei akoli, again it's going to everybody. Mapli when it says machlokas begufa shel korban in the actual substance of the korban. But what's auxiliary to korban, everybody agrees shumishtane mi korban yochel korban tzibur. That the individual can give and volunteer to the Beis Hamikdash. So Gemara says now a question on this. Masisa pliga are Rabbi Yossi, and this Rabbi Yossi, when Mishnah's arguing on this, Mishnah's arguing on is Rabbi Yossi b'shem Rabbi Ila, who says that this is only machshir korban and therefore it's not an issue. Says where you at? We'll see about that. Masisa pliga Rabbi Yossi again and Rabbi Yossi b'shem Rabbi Ila. It says Osa yomim nogim b'shas korban shelo b'shas korban. Those days of simcha, because of the korban eitzim, were knowing for those mishpachas, whether it's the time of the korban, meaning Beis Hamikdash is kayim, and Beis Hamikdash not kayim. Rabbi Yossi may enogim b'shas korban. Rabbi Yossi says, and this is not directly related to Rabbi Yossi about our mission of Shem Mechina, Menadiv Shem Mechina, separate sheet of Rabbi Yossi, but the topic correlates to our topic. So the says Rabbi Yossi may enogim el b'shas korban. No, they only made these yom tovim at the time of the korban. But the question like this, like Moshe puts it, he says, "V'yom marta she'enu chashim el k'machshiri korban." If you're going to say it's only machshiri korban, enu k'guvash korban, they're not like guvash korban. Mivnei ma'yu nogim b'asiyam lachzikun ki yontif. How can you make those days yontif? Certainly, even after Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, pekei yontif. Ha'dalam u'kein el b'korban b'vad. You only said by korban. Karmil el reish perak makom shnagu. Enu b'din she'asuk b'lachtacha v'korban chakar. It's not appropriate that you're going to be involved in your malacha, and it has to be the tinus as well, kosher came, and your korban is brought. You don't hold here by machshira korban. And furthermore, it's difficult. The tiny from that we learned. We are from the sense of Sana ben Yamin, who had one of these days of korban eitzim, was on the 10th day above their day of korban eitzim. At one time, I'm sorry, b'chal tisha b'av liyosel b'Shabbos. One time Tisha came on Shabbos, so they made it was a nidcha. And Tisha B'av came, therefore they kept the tinus on Sunday. But Sunday was their day of korban eitzim. Obviously, this is going to go to Rabbanon, that even after the business was destroyed, there was still simcha on that day. And they made a simcha, and we made, even though we were in Mas'ana, we didn't make a full fast. We broke the fast part way through the day. So we see that they made a simcha, that they were about to Tisha B'av. They would not make that for a machshir korban, an auxiliary to the korban. They will only make it for a korban mamish. So we see korban eitzim is considered to be a korban mamish. Rabbi says somewhere, it's not put down here, that he says in several places in Shas, when you bring korban eitzim, you have to bring salt, because it's like a mincha. It's just like korban melach timlach, the eitzim also have to have melach put on them. So it's mamish like a korban. So therefore, Rabbi Yisrael's assumption that, no, machshir korban is different, and machshir korban can't come even Kohen Rabbanon the from the from the private individual, at least as relates to Korban Eitzim, is not true. Could be relates to Bidei Kuna, like the woman made a Bikuna, but not Korban Eitzim, because Korban Eitzim is considered to be mamish like a Korban. Okay. Next part of the Mishnah said, Omer Mishneh Lechem Lechem Bani. Masnisa Rabbi Shmuel. Our Mishnah is going to Rabbi Shmuel. The Shmuel Ein Omer Ba Min Surya. It said you need to bring from Sfichim from Eretz Yisrael, and therefore you have to have Shomrim. You have to pay the Shomrim. Then nobody should come and take it. But if you can bring it from Syria, so what's the problem? Just go and buy the grain from Syria. So Mishnah Rabbi Shmuel says Omer can't come from Syria. Tamatina we learned Kol Kabbanas Hayachid. About Tzibur or Kabbanas of an individual or of a community. The community, Baimin Arts and Chutzarts, come from Eretz and Chutzarts. Me'echadish Miyash, whether it's from the new crop or from the old crop. Chutzina Omer Shtelechem, just for the 7th Korban. Omer brought on the 2nd day of Pesach. Shtelechem brought Shvuos. Shein Bain El Me'echadish Min Arts. They have to be brought from the new crop, and they have to be brought from Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Chuda B'Shem Yirmiyah said, Rabbi Shmoli. That's Rabbi Shmol. Shmuel Omer ain't Omer Ba Al Misuria. Omer can. Tamatim is over there. Mishnah and Kalim. Esser Kedusha same. There are 10 Kedushos. Eretz Yisrael Kudeshim. We're not going through all of them now. But Eretz Yisrael Kudeshim Kol Ratzos. Eretz Yisrael is holier than other lands. Ma Kedusha. So what is this Kedusha? Shemevim men or Omer v'Bikur Mishtei Lechem. Bring for the Omer and the Bikur Mishtei Lechem. Ma she'emevim Kol Ratzos. You can't bring them any other land. The Kuna B'Shem Maybe said by Shmoli. The Shmuel ain't Omer ba Misuria. It's like Shmuel says Omer does not come from Syria. Okay, says going to Tamatim we learned over there. This is in Shvius. Rabbi Shmuel Omer ma chorish rishus af katzi rishus. What harvest are you not do in Shabbos? An optional rishus, an optional harvest. Optional harvest because it says chorish ubakatzir tish bos. And just like all harvests are optional, there's no mitzvah. Just like all plowing is optional, all chorish is optional. So too, the katzir which is also on Shabbos is the katzir which is optional. But a katzir which is mandatory, is you're allowed to on Shabbos. My katzir shus of katzir shus. Yotz a katzir omer shuhu mitzvah. He holds it's a mitzvah, and this is interesting. The one it says Rabbi Shmuel Kedaite. For some reason, in the article, this is in brackets. I guess maybe the Yerushalmi, it's not there because in Bab Yerushalmi is there. The Shulamar Ein HaOmer Ba means Surya. He says that the Omer doesn't come from Surya, and Kedaite the Omer Yotza Katzer Omer. It says Yotza Katzer Omer, but in the I don't know. It says Katzer. Should say K'tir. The article says Yekatzer. The Shah of Vilna it says K'tir. And the Vilna, in the article also in the parish it says K'tir. It's obviously typo, no Ozbadar. Find a typo, no Ozbadar. What do you know? Even the Ozbadar has a typo. Type of design. Yotza K'tir Omer Shu Mitzvah. That it says K'tir Omer is a mitzvah, and so obviously there are parameters to it. So therefore, it's just like it has a parameter that it doesn't come from Syria, also has a parameter that it has to come specifically on, harvested on the night of the 2nd day of Pesach, and therefore it is Doicha Shabbos. Okay, you can't just bring it anytime from anywhere. It's got to be from Eretz Yisrael, and it's got to be harvested on the at the proper time, and that's all part of the mitzvah. Okay, that brings us to the topic of Vav. We'll stop here for today.